5. Okay.
Okay, ready? I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, action.
Can you imagine? We got to play these funny things like opera. Can you imagine?
Oh my God, by the way, I love opera music now.
That's not bad.
You sound like mom.
I want to do opera.
Your face looks like mom exactly how she does dishes.
You try it. Do it. Just do it. You do it. Let's just see if we can do opera. You try it. It's not as hard. Opera singers are so talented.
I know.
Okay, you try.
No, I can't do it.
And that's how we're going to start off today's episode of opera.
Hey, man, you started off. That was a great start.
Yeah, it was a great start, Ange. Good job.
You start. Don't let me end it.
No, that's a great start. All right,
That's
Alex,
our
what's your
opera.
win?
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah,
win?
I don't know what. I was blown away. I was blown away.
Yeah, I was blown away
I don't know what that was, but I was
By the
blown away.
way, so you know how we said in one of the episodes that we're going to be pivoting our content? Let me tell you something. Angie Dhillon, move over Alvin Dhillon. She's funny. She just did our prank of Al and I. What's it called? They do an impersonation of us. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was bang on, and it was hilarious.
Remember, I'm coming up the stairs. I've had a hard day at work. I've gone into the office. I've come back. I've cleaned my house. I've queued up some content. I've done a whole bunch of stuff now. And Rose, because she has the luxury of working from home anywhere,
Which I do a lot too.
She's over there. So, but 99% of the time, Rose is watching some podcasts, some hippie podcasts, and then she tries to give us advice based on those podcasts. So she tries to dictate and tell us what to do, and we're not having it. Oh my God, Ange, you're so uptight. Who should in your car flex today? You should find a remote job, Ange. I'm just telling you, it's sucking you dry. Rose, I like to go into the office. I like to have stimulating and engaging conversations. I don't want to be a weirdo and a hermit like you. Whatever, Ange. I just sat there and listened to Chamath, and Chamath is God. You know what Chamath said? In year 2027, the aliens are really going to come down because they're watching us. And Chamath also, I go, yeah, Rose, what else did Chamath say? Chamath said, I'm telling you, sometimes when you go outside and the light flashes from the sky. Yeah. He said there's people that watch us from another galaxy.
Keep in mind, where is he getting his information from? His villa in Italy over Skype while he's drinking wine all day and counting his billions.
She's got the tech people mixed up with the spiritual people, but that's okay.
Whatever.
Either way, but yeah.
Okay, so
8 hours of podcast.
today, Ange, can you just do me a favor today, Ange? Just one, I promise. I'm not going to ask you for anything else. Do you think you could just sit down for 5 minutes and just listen to his theory? I think it's just going to change your perspective, because you know how you always say you're in communications and you want to motivate people and just change the world, but just listen to his perspective, because he's real. Ange, Rose,
true,
Rose,
man.
did you eat? Are you fasting again today? Are you doing intermittent fasting? Because it's 14 hours of weirdness coming out of you.
When I come home after work, sometimes I just come over, I'd be like, oh God, here we go. Because I've come back from communicating with people all week, all day. So usually by the time I come home, I'm ready to not communicate with anybody anymore. And then the moment I walk in, it's boom, Miko starts barking. Okay, happy to see Miko. She's not even made eye contact or said what's up. She's sitting upstairs watching another podcast, and I'm literally desperate just taking my shoes off. Mm-hmm. Hey, Al, guess what? You should come check this out. This is what happened. They're talking about this and then that, and then this is what's going to happen. I'm dude, I haven't even gone up the stairs yet.
Because she doesn't see people, so she gets excited.
I can process a lot of information.
It helps me draw pretty good conclusions about people that don't go into the office, people that do work in the office, people that are fully remote. It's true. What happens, how much energy they have, what they apply to. I'm I see a lot.
Yeah, and then the classic one she'll say.
Rose to me is watching a monkey in a lab.
Yeah.
I'm just watching
experiments.
Yeah, and then clockwork when I see her, I'm and here we go. Ready? It's on.
And then when you put her around people,
and then you tell her to mute. I tell her to mute. She'll only mute for maybe a minute before she's I can't take this anymore.
But when you put Rose around lots of people, lots of people, she can handle it.
She chooches out, man.
Yeah,
chooches
that's
out.
new. I just learned that about myself. I always thought that I'm an extrovert and you can put me in front of hundreds of people. I'm fine. Not anymore. Now you put me in front. I'm oh shit, where's the library? I gotta go run away. Yeah.
She's like a shield.
Yeah.
And Al's issue, Al's problem with the traffic. You know what? all this problem could be solved and with all the single occupant vehicles.
Exactly, that's the
No,
problem.
and the high-speed rail. Al's always saying that we need the high-speed
We need
rail.
a high-speed rail.
And you know what? If everybody
thinking.
just worked from home one extra day, problem solved. A lot of cars would be
They
off
still
the
need to
road.
just, all our infrastructure is 40 to 50 years old. Nothing has been changed. So you look at that, you're like, dude, how do you not made any changes? Like the one that's in the Kingsway area, that one main thoroughfare to get into Vancouver, it takes 4 lanes. You watch these 4 lanes merge into 3, merge into 2, merge into 1 to get onto a bridge. You're like, dude, this is not working. It's never worked. What's going on here? Like, there's got to, finally, when you go look at it, because I always go search like the plan for what's the 10-year plan for BC, what's the 20-year plan to see what are they doing. Finally, you can start looking up stuff of like, they have like a plan in place. Okay, this part's going to be fixed within the next 10 years. So they're going to plan the 91, all these other thoroughfares are going to increase. Yeah,
Al sounds like a broken record. Like,
no, Al has a lot of good ideas. No, Al.
It's common
I get
knowledge.
it.
And people don't want to drive. Most people don't want to drive too. If you gave me a quarter shorter route, I want to take the train. You think you may sound good in your voice, but it sounds terrible.
Welcome to a Tribe
Sounds
Called
great.
Dhillon.
Really? I think she's pretty good.
Because you already have death, that's why.
Oh my God, maybe I could be an opera singer because I can't carry a tune. But
You have a
anyhow,
lot of pain, you know? Opera singers have a lot of pain.
Yeah.
I do.
You should go challenge that.
Yeah. Did you see Angelina Jolie just did the new movie? But it was hard for me to like get into it because I'm like, I know you can't belt out like that. So she's pretending that she's an opera singer, but you can tell that she's never sang a day in her life. So I could see that it wasn't like really her. So I couldn't get into the film because I was like, you don't have this kind of talent to belt out that.
Never know. Maybe she
no,
coach.
she doesn't.
Okay.
No.
Anyways, hey everyone, just sorry about our rant and our just doing whatever. It's year 3, and we did put a disclaimer in that we were going to do whatever if you did not see that episode. So today we want to just make sure that when we're talking, I didn't.
Wait, what were we even talking about? We were talking about nonsense last time.
Yeah, we did nonsense.
Remember, who said that was our channel?
Yeah, and so welcome back to
this episode. There's like 6 minutes of singing. I'm going to edit out. For sure.
Welcome back to our channel, A Tribe Called Dhillon Show. I'm Angie. This is Rose, and this is Alvin. By now, it's year 3. You know us, but I want to just make sure that every year we continue to do an episode when we start our podcast. Like, why did we launch the podcast? I just want to make sure that we're consistent. So when we go back and look at all of our reels and, the episode from year 1 to, let's say, year 10, like, were we true to our message? Were we true to what our values and what we wanted to bring on this platform? So I just wanted us to quickly talk about, we're starting year 3, both of you. Have we changed? Has our message changed? Like, have we changed our values in any way about the podcast and why we launched it?
I've contemplated taking off my clothes if it's necessary, but I've thought maybe I'll just take another route and say, you know what, keep it on for another year.
Okay.
No, I think my moral compass got even higher. My integrity and courage got even higher to say, nope, I am standing in my conviction. I will not be taking my clothes off. No, I might wear a tank top and like show you when I'm working out because I'm not going to be working out in this clothes. But no, I refuse to give into what we do to women, which is we sexualize women all the time. And I refuse to give into that. So if anything, I'm standing more in my conviction, more in my courage, and more listening to podcasts and reading more books. And I'm not doing it. No.
But you know what? We're just a sexual society now. And even men are taking off clothes too. I just don't know. Why is everybody taking off their clothes lately?
Because it gets you likes
I don't get it.
and comments and
I think
engagement.
it's like something like very Neanderthal with us humans that we know that it hits it works on your emotions so much quicker, faster, more effective that it's the cheap, easy route to go. But the problem is it's short-term gain for then long-term, usually most people are like 10, 20 years later, they're always like, that's when they look back to like, oh yeah, maybe I would have not taken my clothes off during that one time. Like wearing bikinis, all that stuff is great, but like it's all about what your brand stands for, right? If you're trying to uplift young women, then what are you teaching them, right? You got to look at like what's
100%.
We all lead by example.
And I'll tell you, I think the women who leave their clothes on, like I follow Sadia Khan, she's that psychologist.
You respect her more.
But the amount of hate she gets,
that's crazy.
Oh my God, it's like next level. I'm like, she's dropping good, honest information. Like she's like, one woman went and said such horrible things to her, and all she just said was like, if you get basically cheated on, like essentially the signs were there. And I was like, she's right. Like, you don't get to play victim card. That she's like, you're a horrible woman. I'm like, she didn't say anything bad. She's just saying, like, if you choose to stay with the person after that, that's a you problem.
Yeah, and
that's a you decision.
She's a psychologist.
Yeah,
right?
she's got experience.
She's got years and years of experience. She's seen all this stuff. And you know what? Honestly, I think with everybody, one side of Yukon is very pretty. She's beautiful.
She's beautiful.
I think women just hate on that. And her message is like, she says the things that we don't want to hear.
Yep.
So just own it.
I don't know about her political views.
Right.
I don't know about, I'm not going to comment on political views, but when you see the advice she gives, or even for a guy, whether you want to hear it or not, you're kind of like, damn it, she's right. But
I love the way she speaks in her British accent.
Yeah.
She's just very intelligent. She carries herself very well. Okay. So just, have our values.
Don't take your clothes off. Don't ever do it. Don't let them take you down to the dark side. Okay. Because I really do admire what you're doing.
Have our values changed? When we started off the podcast, I can still remember that we said that we wanted to create a community of like-minded folks, right? So what are like-minded folks? What do we mean by that?
When I think of like-minded, I think you need to be open-minded. So I don't want to just say I want to say open-minded, which is you need to be able to look at perspectives from both sides. So if you're in the blue pill family and you're like, oh, I hate the red pill. No. You have to be able to say, how do they think the way they think? Why do they think the way they think? And how can I understand them better? And vice versa. Both sides need to. So you say like-minded, but I want a community of open-minded people who are willing to learn and grow and recognize that the way that person, where they were born, who their parents were, who their school teachers were, their siblings, all of that plays a part into who they become as an adult.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like, it's all your upbringing, right? And so you can't just blame the person you see in this current situation. You have to kind of step back and start like, how did they become like this? And I think for us, like all we are trying to do is we're just trying to ask questions and say, hey, how can we just try to be better? Because I just feel like if we're been brought into this first world country from our parents, we're supposed to be like, hey, we're supposed to be better than what they did. And if we're not making any improvements or making any changes, and we're still doing the same thing over and over again, like what is the point?
Yeah.
So we start asking questions. Like help us find the answers to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But
I think, Rose, when we said like-minded at that time 3 years ago, yes. The reason I think we said like-minded is because we want folks to be like-minded like us, because we are open-minded, right?
And you don't have to agree with everything we say. That's okay. You can agree to disagree. That's totally fine. You're going to have your perspective. But just saying, okay, I guess they see it that way. I don't, but that's okay. Like, it doesn't mean I hate them and I want to send them negative comments or mean things, like the guy who said horrible things to us. Like, it's not necessary.
At the end of the day, that like we're all humans at the end of the day too. Like, we're all put on this planet without like some owner's manual. We're all just trying to figure things out. Yeah. And people, all our egos are all trying to like help us like to think we're the man and take over and stuff, and it fucks us in the end.
When we started this journey, just like that book that's out there, we started this journey to figure out how to unfuck ourselves.
Totally.
I hate to say it, but it's the truth, because I felt at times I'm like, why do I think this way? Why am I this way? What's the reason? And so I'm like, well, let's just see if there's anyone else that's out there like us, like a community of people just trying to figure out like, well, why did I make these decisions and why did I do what I did and why did I behave like that? So I think there's some strength and power that comes when you reflect and you think out loud and you talk out loud and you just take the power away from like, now I'm just starting to figure out, we're like a puzzle, right? We're a jigsaw puzzle. Things are starting to now year 3, like, okay, makes sense. Like, oh, this piece goes here and this piece goes here and it fits now. And now I'm starting to understand, I'm starting to get whole again. And that's the essence, is that if you're feeling lost and you're feeling a little, misleaded or out of out of your element, and you're just feeling like I'm disconnected. I think this journey now for us, I'm starting to put the pieces and connect into things. I'm like the missing link. Like I get it why I made those decisions when I did, and in hindsight, I'm just gonna start being better and bigger and better as I evolve.
That's a really good perspective. Both of you guys just kind of gave me something to think about of how we evolve and grow as people. And you're like, I like you said, puzzle. And I keep saying to myself now, is life is a game of chess, right? You come out as a pawn and it's your job to figure out what the knight does and what the rook does and what the bishop does and king and queen. And you figure out where you want. You got to read it and figure out where you want to be. Do you want to just be a pawn here? Maybe if you're in a room full of CEOs, just be the pawn so you can soak in the knowledge. But maybe if you're in the room with everybody else is a pawn and you have to step up and be the king or the queen, like you find your voice, you find who you are in the environments that you're in. But I don't know where I heard this. Someone said, you better be either learning or earning. So you got to figure, you can do both. Great. That's great if you got both. But if you're not, you better be doing one or the other.
I think this podcast for me, it's allowed us now, because I know that for me, I've always had a very different way of thinking about the world, and just I would always challenge things. Like I remember when I was younger, and I think for me, the reason a lot of my decisions have been just because when I grew up in a time that was a little tumultuous for my parents, and I think I was the observer. My mind recorded everything.
Yeah.
Like it was like a video camcorder recorder, and that data has never been wiped off my brain. So growing up, the women always worked. The men and women owned a house. We never saw anyone of our family members ever go through a divorce or any of that sort of stuff. So for me, I always thought that you have to buy a house with a partner. So when Rose and I went to go buy our own house, it was just us on the title of that house. We didn't have a man on the title of that house. And it was something foreign to us, foreign to our family, because after my divorce, my parents were like, just come and live with us. And for me, I was like, that's such a cop out. Like I couldn't get this area of my life right. So now I'm just going to come back and run back to mom and dad. I'm like, no, I have to stand in my truth, and I have to figure life out. So there was always times that even when, there was, women were working, and I was always curious if my aunts and uncles had their own bank accounts. Why was everything joined? Like I was like, why can't you just have your own bank account? So there were so many things that I would always question. And now that I've gotten older, I think just the way that I think, and now the way we think, I can't have those conversations with just regular people anymore, because I just feel like for me, I'm raising my vibration to try and elevate the next generation to just listen. Relationships are amazing. Companionship is amazing. All I'm saying is just bring your own and carry your own in a relationship. Like be a contributing member of society.
I think you've always had women empowerment with you well before I even understood it. Like I look back now and I'm like, oh, I've totally gone on this boat with her. But where did it come in? I was like, oh, Andrew's always done this from the very start. From I can remember when I was in high school, you were always about women building each other up, and women, and I was being taught women were terrorizing each other. And so I learned like obviously juggling between you and this side. And then as I got older now, I'm more in women empowerment. And I'm realizing that it's just a very small sub niche people, a very small group of people that think this way. And it's like really hard to get people to adopt this philosophy. Men will network. Men are great.
Men will network. Women will tear each other down. That's what I've noticed.
I see it all the time.
Why? I don't get it.
For no reason. It's just like you see it all the time.
We don't even know how to network. We don't even know how to connect with each other or support another successful women. Like that's wrong. And all of us have a leadership mindset. I'm telling you, every single one of us out there has a leadership mindset. We just got to tap into it. 100%. And leadership is all about thinking about someone else or the greater good of other people. It's not just thinking about yourself. And for me, when we launched the podcast, I think I launched it with the leadership mindset. I'm like, listen, I'm just tired of seeing so much nonsense out there. No one's addressing it. No one's talking about it. Nobody wants to be the one that said, hey, I'm going to just try and start a positive movement if it doesn't work. But I just think that there's so much more positivity if we connect with each other and other folks out there, because in the end, positive stuff is what's going to make the world a better place. Right. And we all 100%. Have to start shifting now.
Our default setting is negativity and dark. So it's like we have to fight against that to like somewhat enjoy some of this like life that we're this physical life before we get onto the other place. So it's like, I don't know, try to make the best of it. Try to enjoy some of it. Like everyone's so salty all the time. Like gotta change it.
And taking accountability is where your power comes. I know people hate hearing this. Whenever I do my LinkedIn posts on responsibility or accountability, I have like 0 likes. Nobody engages in it. It's like, and I realize like, oh, I guess I forget that people hate taking it, but I'm saying it because I used to be that person who was like victim mindset. But when you take accountability, you take your power back, and there's something beautiful. Andrea said this before, and she's taught me this. There's something I can't explain. There's no words in the English language that can tell you the feeling of taking that power back and saying, all right, put myself in the situation. I'm going to get myself out of the situation.
It's like the hardest part of the healing process of acknowledging that, hey, you've got a big role to take on for this. And you did this to yourself. You can't keep blaming everybody around you.
I'm going to say in my professional life, though, I've always made really good, sound decisions. But in my personal life, shit decisions. In my personal life, I've not always had a great track record, and I'm trying to improve that, change that, and understand why did I make those decisions. And that's what I start to realize now, that is, I have to adapt more of my professional life into my personal life, because those decisions I've always excelled in. And then my problem is I just play too much with my heart, and my heart dictates sometimes. And sometimes I'm going to say, like, be more logical. Don't always let your heart lead the way. In some situations, it's 100% good, but I'm saying it's sometimes you got to think logically and say, is this good? Like, or is the heart going to screw me? So,
and before we wrap it up, I want to say one last thing. Andrew, I think I don't say this enough. You're a pioneer, because when you did say to me, we're going to go buy our own house, I was like, we are. You're like, I'm doing it with or without you. And I think now when I bought my house, think about it. Where did I get that courage to go and think that I could go buy a house? Because my sister gave me that courage back in 2015. So 9 years later or 7 years later, it came into fruition. So yeah, you were a pioneer back then. Good for you.
Well, thank you. We did have a cousin that went and bought her own house. We have to give her a shout out. She knows who she is. She bought a condo and kids. So
you're right.
And I think when we saw our cousin do that, we were kind of saying, hey, if she can do it, this is great.
You're
because our cousin was also kind of, thinking outside the box and doing things, she would go to Japan and do a trip.
Yeah, she was very too. Yeah, very forward thinking.
She was very forward thinking. And I think as us younger siblings, that's who we looked up to growing up because she was just so eccentric and so different and so out there and thought about things differently. And we don't realize is that these are the types of people that have an impact on our psyche when we're growing up. And so I was thinking, if that cousin, and mind you, we just had the one cousin in our family out of so many cousins and family members that did that. But you start to think, why are more of us not doing that?
And one thing I will say, because I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things I was telling Dad about was like, she was, like you said, very forward thinking and very eccentric. And I remember she used to dance in the car, and Dad's side of the family would always like, oh yeah, I saw your cousin. Yeah, she's crazy. She's just crazy dancing in the car. And now when I drive, I'm dancing in the car, and I'm like, bring it, let's go. Yeah.
But she was so confident to do things. And that's what it is. A society pigeonholes you into like, you're crazy if you do things like
this. If you're just in your skin and you're comfortable. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, it was always Dad's family. They were always saying things like, she's crazy, eh? That's always the men, by the way. It was always the men that were saying it.
So conservative.
So conservative. And so it was always the men. She's crazy, eh? She's always dancing. What's so bad about that?
And now we're crazy for launching year 3 of our podcast. So it's the crazy people.
Still being here.
It's the crazy people that become the change makers. Okay, well, that's it. Anything else to add?
No, that was great.
I think we did a little rant. Okay, so year 3, we just wanted to just make sure that we stay true to why we launched the podcast. If anything's changed, if anything, I just think we're more confident, and now we know where we're headed. So that's it for me. So you know who we are. It's a Tribe Called Dhillon show. The 3 of us are going to be back in 2 weeks again. So catch the new episode, and don't forget to check us out on all of our social channels and all of our cute little videos and fun stuff that we're doing. Take care, friends and family. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
And
bye, everyone.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Don't forget,
and notified. Once you hit subscribe, make sure you get notified.
And comment and engage, please.
Please tell us how your day is going. Just anything.
Tell us.
Yeah, or even how to bake a good apple pie. Okay,
all right,
bye.
Take care.